What's up, everybody? How is everybody doing tonight? Welcome to the Grey Exchange. I'm glad everybody can be here. Hopefully, I put enough notice for everyone out there, so hopefully everybody got the notifications. I had some weird instances with that. And before I bring up my guests, you guys know I like to kind of go over how I do the live streams. Most of you guys are probably familiar with this at this time, but for the first half hour, usually I'll interact mostly with the guests. I'll glance over at chat and whatnot. And then after the following half hour, we will you guys can ask the guest questions. And like I said, he is joining us all the way from South Africa. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning over there. So I truly appreciate him being here with us this evening. Let me kind of give a little quick roll call. Homestead Oz, Bonnie, Joe, Independent Marine, Y Family Farms, Cashew, Zayne, Bonnie, Hoot Owl, Busted Beak, Mrs. Prepping Plumber, Be Charming, and everyone that's here. Thank you so much, Dino Walters. All right, so and I will get back to chat here. Milkmaid, what's up? And you can give us a 5x5 once we get up, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my guest. Okay, guys. What's up, brother? Citizen Guardian, aka CG for short. How are you doing this evening?
Doing very, very well. Thank you for asking, Grey. It's definitely a pleasure to have you with us. I just want to say thank you to those that joined us as well, Homestead Oz specifically, and White Family Farm, some of the homesteaders. And yeah, thank you for bringing me on, Grey.
Not a problem at all. It was, like I said, it was kind of thrown together at the last minute. So I truly appreciate your time. We are getting 5x5s in the chat so everybody can hear and see us very well. So kind of what I wanted to do first is, of course, a lot of people may not be familiar with your channel. That being said, I do have his link to his channel up at the top and in the description in case you guys want to check it out if you haven't already. Some great content there. Trust me, I binge watched all of it. And believe it or not, he did an interview with City Prepping and some other folks. So he's out there, you know what I mean? But CG, go ahead and introduce yourself in the aspect of like what you do, why you prep, and what kind of got you in this genre of things.
Absolutely. So thank you for the question. So from our side, I started off in my teen years as a scout. I worked closely with the scouts for the majority of my youth. And I also was always into mountain biking and motocross. And I trained people mountain biking in the United States, in Pennsylvania for quite some time. I really enjoyed that. I'm doing summer camp counseling, training, mountain biking there. And from our side, it converted to prepping, I'd say about a little bit over a decade ago. And from that point, I've moved a lot of the survival skills that I had, tried to improve on those as much as I possibly can. And I'm always learning. As I always say, like, I don't really know everything at this point, but that's the good thing about community and that type of thing, is just learning from more people too. And from my side, I definitely converted that to prepping it as I'd say about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, possibly. And from that point, I've just really learned a lot from the prepping community as well. The big channels out there I've been following for a very long time, Nate from Canadian Prepper, really some of the, urban prepping, city prepping. There's a lot of really good channels where I've attained a lot of information. And from our side, the reason why I'm into prepping as much as I am is because there's been so many different times within history where we've overlooked things, and there's been a lot of times where people could have been more prepared, but they left it till the last moment, and sometimes you don't have that last moment. So preparing now rather than in a crisis is a lot better. And just for local weather disruptions as well as like long-term SHTF type scenarios. So yeah, it's just definitely something that I'm really interested in, and I'm very happy to be on your channel because I've seen what you've been doing, and I love the way that you're able to cover the streams that you are. I think it's very important the way that you've been able to discuss and really lead people to be able to just open up and have nice conversations with you as well. So that's great.
No, I truly appreciate it. I see a lot of new folks popping in chat as well. Just want to say hello to Rip, Jeep Girl, Van Life with Gina, Keto, Thorhaven, Mark. I see all you guys popping in. Truly appreciate the support. And also, I want to let you guys know, and the reason you guys are seeing a lot of these faces is because what I'm trying to do here on the channel is I'm trying to get preppers from all over the globe to kind of give you guys, to show you that here in the U.S., you are not alone. There's preppers all over the world, and we have a lot of the same mindset. So hopefully you guys will gather that, and hopefully you guys will enjoy some of these new channels and new faces that I'm bringing to you from my subscriber base. So definitely go check him out and check some of his videos out. And and if you like what you see, let him know. Hey, in the comments, Grey sent you. Give him a thumbs up and all that fun stuff like that. All right. So do you notice a difference in regards to like preppers from in your area versus over here? Like, is there certain things that you might prep for that different than other, let's say the U.S. preps, or is it similar like with natural disasters or civil unrest and things like that?
Well, the difference is that there's a lot more ease of access in the United States and also in the UK. There's a lot more facilities for you to go to, a lot more companies that are open where you can go get, more bushcrafting, survival type oriented type of things. Where in South Africa, we kind of just got to either order online or we've got to just know who the best local manufacturers are, that type of thing too. And the difference in mindset is pretty much the same. When it does come to a lot of the gear, what we're basically doing as preppers, is I'm sure that you feel exactly the same way, is we're trying to make sure that whatever we would need in a disaster scenario, that we have that, at least one or two of those items that could potentially just at least soften the blow between our current life of luxury compared to a long-term disaster scenario. So basically just making sure that the items that you do specifically have would absolutely be able to facilitate a soft transition, because obviously for some of us it wouldn't be that hard to transition, but sometimes, and more than not, you have community around you and people that won't always be able to just fit directly into a survival type of situation. So it's definitely trying to just soften that blow, and also mentality. So the mentality is one of the most important aspects behind survival and preparation, one that is fortunately brought up quite often, because essentially in a disaster scenario, so say for example, tomorrow morning you wake up and the internet's been taken down, or there's an immense storm on the way. There's a lot of things that could occur that are unforeseen. And in those type of scenarios, you just don't want to be caught, unguarded, basically.
No, that makes absolutely sense. I've seen some more people pop in, and Milkmaid, you're absolutely right. She said, love the fact that we are worldwide. Yes. And also I see someone else mentioned, yes, go ahead and smash that like button. Let's break that YouTube algorithm, as we always like to say. And thanks for all the mods that are in chat. I appreciate you guys helping me out. And if you guys can drop his link throughout the chat, I'd truly appreciate that as well. So a friend of mine, it's actually one of my mods, knows David Pearson, one of the persons you interviewed really, really well. How was that interview? I figured that would be truly interesting, actually, conversating with a bushcrafter.
Yeah, I've been following David Pearson for a very long time. And in the beginning, within the first year or two that I used to watch his content, I never really used to implement what he's been teaching. And after that, as I say, I've been watching for about 8 years now, 7 or 8 years. And he's really a fantastic guy. I've got all the time in the world for David. And the way that he just is able to illustrate what he's showing, he also shows you his errors and shows you his mistakes on his videos. And I think that that's something that adds that real aspect to it, so it becomes relatable. And a lot of the time, just the person that he is, hey there, everybody, like he does this little intro thing all the time, and just the way that he speaks as well. I've got the most time for David Pearson. Huge fan of his, and I have been for the last 8 years. That's why I reached out to him and wanted him to be one of the first guests on my shows, because I really have learned so much from him. As I say in the beginning, I didn't always implement the same teachings that he was trying to get across. And then what I started to do is I'd start to repeat some of his lean-tos and A-frame shelters and just try and emulate what he was doing on the channel in real life. And made my own couple of mistakes as well along the way, because I wasn't following it identically. But then over time, just learned more and more about the way that he does bushcrafting. And he's a maestro when it comes to bushcraft as well. So if anybody's watching this, I absolutely suggest that you go through. David Pearson's got so many different videos as well on amazing topics that aren't usually touched throughout the bushcrafting community as well. So big props to David Pearson.
Yeah, if you guys aren't familiar with David Pearson, Mark put it up there. His name on YouTube is really Big Monkey 1. I'm pretty sure you guys will be able to find the link, and you guys can always share that as well. And also, CG, I forgot to say thank you for joining the Grey family. I saw that at the top there, and it had just a glance at me. I really appreciate that, man. I appreciate the support.
Yeah,
really appreciate it, man. All right, so backstage, like I said, we were talking about a few different things that I kind of wanted to kind of go over, and I was watching you break down your. I think you guys call it a bug out bag as well. I mean, it's pretty universal, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking about water filtration, and what is your take on water filtration, and what kind of devices that you use?
It's a good thing to bring up as well. So I did a tiny little bit of a prep before the live stream. So everybody's familiar with the simple and straightforward live straw. They're not ultimately for longer term. They can be prone to a little bit more clogging than your other filters. They're still doing a lot of good work. Their company is actually helping a lot of people up in Northern Africa. So it's amazing that they're distributing them to people that don't have access to fresh water as well. So that's something that I really am proud of. Not proud of, it's not me that's doing it, but I'm really proud of the fact that the company is taking that type of direction with Life Straw. And then Sawyer Mini water filtration system. That's the one that I prefer to use. This is just a completely unused one as well. They block up as well, but if you've got a good syringe, you can always backlog that as well and make sure that you can clean that out. So Sawyer Mini water filtration system is excellent and definitely one that I would recommend. But if you don't have the budget to, a Life Straw can really go very far away. There is like a mini war that's being raged between the main water filtration systems, but there is a good amount of other ones out there as well that are excellent products. So it does come down to water. I mean, water is such an important element. It's the key to life, of course. So if you don't have an adequate way to actually filtrate your water, whether it be through boiling or whether it be through preferably boiling first and then with your water filtration device. So using both of them, you're going to run into a lot of problems after like a third or fourth day without having any fresh water. And if you drink contaminated water, you can potentially be doing more harm than you're doing good to yourself in that aspect as well. So filtration is incredibly important. I recently did a video on a solar still, which is also another way to purify water. That's also something that's quite important to just understand the way that solar stills work. I actually made an error the first time because I used grass instead of more like bulky leaves, and I showed that as well because it's important to see that grass was absolutely not the right idea. Much bulkier and thicker leaves in your solar still was a much smarter plan. So yeah, water filtration systems are great.
Yeah, I saw that video. I was watching that, and I saw the color of the water. Did you end up like filtering that water down the road? And because I know it was kind of like had like that yellowy kind of like some debris and whatnot in there.
I left that for about half an hour. Obviously, I just enjoy sometimes gazing at the scenery. So I saw what the condition of the water was, and I realized that if I had to just leave it there, and I should have recorded that as well, because if you leave the water that's already a little bit murky down there for like a while, a lot of the sediment and a lot of the granules, they go to the bottom, they sink after a while. But like obviously, as I was taking it out, and the stone that I was using to weigh it in as well, also made the water a little bit more murky than it would have been.
That's intriguing. Something I'd like to try something like that down the road. I'm slowly going through all the different types of gear and stuff like that on the channel. But we're not going to talk about me. We're going to talk about you.
I enjoy you as well, though. So it's not a problem.
So I know you wanted a little bit talk about. Here I got in my notes. I'm huge on note taking because it keeps myself on track. Because I talk about knives all the time on my channel. Because I don't know if you've seen where I'm doing this giveaway for members, and now that you're a member, you will be part of that giveaway. I don't know how it would work shipping to South Africa, but I'll have to figure that out if I come to that crossroad. Yeah. Me, I use a couple different knives. I've probably showed these plenty of times. I have the Becker BK2, and another one of my favorite smaller lightweight knives is the Gerber Strong Arm. And like you said in your video, it's nice to have a bunch of knives because they all have different uses. And I also have like a wood whittling knife and some other stuff. So tell me a little bit about your knives that you have and what you use them for.
Yeah, so I also just got a couple of those in front of me as well. Obviously, full tang fixed blade is always the way to go for a long-term survival knife. It's definitely the most important aspect of the knife that you do choose, but then also making sure that you get a very strong handle with those. My personal favorite knife, I've got two of these, but this is the one that I have. It's my DOW. As you can see, full tang over there, and it's definitely one of my favorites. This knife is my little baby that I've hardly been using. With this one, I've got my other DOW that I use quite regularly, and then just to have, the whole rule of 2 is 1 and 1 is none, it's definitely something that is important. A similar knife, a little bit more bulky, a little bit longer of a knife as well. Actually, I really enjoy knives for the purpose of them, because ultimately it's one of the most important survival tools when it does come to preparedness, is definitely having a good amount of quality knives that are, as you say, for various reasons. There's a fishing knife as well. It's a decent fishing hook on that.
Right.
Also, DOW, I like that quite a bit. And then I've got, even for concealment, and one that I brought up on that video as well, is just a little tiny micro knife that you can have with you that fits onto your bolt. So your bolt buckle, because my friend and I, a good friend of mine and I, we have a little competition between us that it equates to about $2, but over here, currency, like the dollar exchange rate's a little bit more. But basically, whenever we catch each other without a knife, we kind of have to owe the other person. So this is a kind of a cheat on that, to make sure that regardless of wherever I am, and even if I'm in a place where I usually wouldn't carry like a proper side knife, then this is still counts the same. So just it's good to always have a knife with you, basically. This is not going to do this is for functionality. This is absolutely useless. However, if you do have it for defensive purposes, it can help you out of a stickler, and you never know when you need like a very small blade with you. But realistically, as much as you possibly can, you should always carry like a decent, proper, like full blade.
Now, being that you have so many knives, I know there's some people, they buy knives, and especially people that are new to knives or new to prepping or bushcrafting or whatnot, they're just getting into it. I watched a video you did with some knife sharpening, and you were talking about knife care, and I think that's very pertinent for folks to learn.
Yeah, it definitely is. You might have seen for a moment there on the solar stall video as well, that I actually had my knife lying on the ground, which is a really big rule to never do that, because it's so easy for you to just have it on the ground and you kick it by accident or something, and it like rolls off to the side, and then you're like looking around for your knife as well, which is why one of the knives that I use more regularly, I've got an orange nylon rope that I put on it, so that if it does fall among the brush and if it does fall into the leaves, then it's very easy for me to be able to find that as well. Sorry that I'm not seeing chat in the comment section. To anybody that's, I'm sure that, Grey said that you were going to get to comments at some point. I'm unable to see comments at the moment. So I sincerely do apologize for that. It's not that I'm ignoring anybody, but there is just like a little bit of a delay between the actual StreamYard live stream and then, well, the actual commentary as well.
No, it's understandable, man. Some people, like I said, I'm blessed that I have this kind of setup, so I can kind of like pay attention to everything, or try to the best as I can. And there was something I was going to discuss. Oh, because I saw something pop up in chat, and I do carry one myself here. I'm pretty sure I have it on me. Do you carry any type? Oh, that's a knife. Any type of? Here it is. Is it here? I don't know. It's in one of my pockets, or is it next to me? But do you carry any type of multi-tool?
I do. I've got a couple of those. I've got some simple, straightforward and base multi-tools that I keep with me all the time, wherever I go. It's always good to have a decent quality multi-tool as well, like a good Leatherman. Leatherman make amazing, not trying to, give a big props to Leatherman themselves, but Leathermans make amazing multi-tools. So if you can get your hands on you see, this is the thing. There are certain things that if you're going into preparation and you don't always have the right budget for the top of the range stuff, you can always, find substitutes, but I would never I definitely think that when it does come to either multi-tools or knives, that you try not to substitute for a lower cost. It's better to save up if you need to and buy a good quality knife, for example, or a multi-tool, and then you're capable of having that for a long time, because it's not really going to break on you when you need it the most.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. I think, man, you might have the same Leatherman here. This is the Leatherman, if I'm trying to forget my focus, the Signal.
Yeah, that's a beautiful Leatherman. I really like that.
Love
That's
that
awesome.
thing. I love the fire starter aspect that it has it right on there on the outside, just in case you lose, let's say, a ferro rod. I did see a question, and I figured since she really she popped up in there, she said, "Can you ask Citizen Guardian what his preferred sharpening kit is?" Since it's kind of having a dive into what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, medium to large size whetstone. I usually travel with whetstones, and also have a multitude of whetstones as well. The regular dual-sided whetstones. So whetstones are definitely the path that I like to take, just to make sure whetstone and a strip of leather. So using the whetstone and then leather, using it against leather as well, just to be able to keep that sharp. I've got a video that I'm busy working on at the moment, just a short little video regarding sharpening knives as well. Just a few, I'm going to compile like a bit of a compilation of just how to do very mundane and straightforward things that not everybody might have done recently, or not everybody's had a bit of a refresher course on. So yeah, whetstone is definitely something that I would suggest investing in. A whetstone can keep your blades in pretty good shape, and then using a piece of leather afterwards as well, just to make sure that you scuff that. So it usually increases like just down to the last point as well.
Yeah, no, I use a stropping, or as they call, I think it's stropping. They call it the leather for that fine to get some of those burrs off there. And someone, what did she say? Milkmaid, because she said something about the Spyderco triangle. I like that one, but me personally, I'm currently using the landscape sharpening system. I just have more. It's easier for me to use when the system that I use. I'm not as skilled yet to use a whetstone, as I call it.
Yeah, it just takes a little bit of practice. As soon as you get more comfortable with it as well. And I know that you've been in the field. I know that you did. You were in the military as well. You served for a term, and then you also were doing the medical side of that. So I'm sure that you'll become, it just will fall so naturally to you. I promise you. Like once you get just a little bit more accustomed to it, it'll become second nature.
Yeah, I figured I'll use some of my cheaper knives at that point, using a whetstone, just in case I don't want to destroy any of my good blades.
Good trial run.
Yeah, Milkmaid said the strops are awesome. So Harvey Black, one of my mods, says, "I haven't heard Citizen Guardian say this yet. Can you ask him to say Ackman, or ACKMAN, common SA expression?"
Achman. Is that?
I think that's what it
is. Yeah, that's Achman. It's one of the. It's like oh well, kind of. It's the equivalent for oh well in Afrikaans. It's one of our dialects.
All right. I guess Harvey, I guess he knows more than I do, because I'm new, and this is what I like doing, is I like meeting folks like yourself that are like all over the world, because it's like I said, you guys have different accents and different ways of saying things and stuff like that. It's quite intriguing to me. I've only been to certain places, either be it in the military or here in the U.S. So I find it quite interesting, some of the dialect that's used.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting, and there's a lot of. There's a larger, like obviously in languages, sometimes there's certain things that you can say in one language that you don't really have a mirror for that in other languages. And there's quite often different terms that are used, quite a lot of them in that specific dialect in Afrikaans. And there's a lot of, you can cuss so passionately in that language, much further than you can in any other language. I'm obviously not going to mention any of them here. But it's very strong language with that Achman, like that he's speaking about. Yeah, it's a very, very hard, strong language. It can be spoken beautifully too, but it's interesting.
Awesome. I'm going to take one more question. I see pop up in chat, and then we're going to get back into my questions, because I'm not sure what Cherokee Survival says. The Citizen Guardian, do you use a African dorm shelter?
I actually a lot of the time just prefer lean-tos because they're a lot quicker to set up. Lean-tos are definitely one of the most simplistic shelters that you can quickly build. So I have heard of that before. A friend of mine has actually spoken about that about 2 to 3 months ago. Was speaking about that, but it's not something that I've given as much focus as I potentially should have. And in fact, what I'll do is I will do a little bit more research after that. After the stream, well, tomorrow most likely, I'll do a little bit more research and see if I can do a video on that specifically, because obviously being from South Africa, it'd be quite interesting to have my take on it. And I can include my friend that actually was speaking to me about it previously. So maybe, we could do a bit of a video together or something like that at some point.
Yeah, that would be quite intriguing. So I wanted to touch on this because I was watching the video. I think it was your Shed Wars intro, and I did a video just it was Medical Monday, so that was yesterday, right? Yes, yesterday was Monday, and I talked about depression and anxiety, and I talked about gardening and how the minerals in the soil and stuff like that. And you kind of touched on that in your intro video, how gardening is good for the soul and whatnot. And so I wanted to take your take on that, as well as some of your gardening experience, because I want to show everybody that you are well-rounded. You have a lot of skill sets.
Yeah. Well, first time just to go back right into the beginning. So the first time, I think I was in my early 20s, and my late grandfather, who was my role model when I was growing up, he was definitely a big impact in my life, and I've always looked up to him. And he was also into the outdoors quite extensively. He was actually a courier, a motorcycle courier in the Second World War, and I love motorcycles. So just to wrap that up, about that, start speaking about my grandfather just for a moment there. So what was your question? When I spoke about my grandfather, now I lost the train of thought.
No, I understand that totally. I have that happen to me sometimes when I speak of loved ones that are no longer with us. What I was going to say is that it's I was trying to explain to people that, and Homestead also touched on this as well.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
Working in the garden, how it's good for you, breathing in that dust and stuff like that when you're out in the garden. I wanted you to kind of touch on that, how what you discussed in your video, and also tell us a little bit about your gardening after that.
Yeah, sorry. I like, as you're mentioning that, I know that you just wanted to repeat the question in full, but I did gather that it's just, honestly, my grandfather's a hero of mine. So when I do speak about him, obviously I do get side-railed. So basically, I was in my early 20s, and I took a simple potato and had a little bit of dirt outside on a small holding that we had, like a little homestead. And I took a small little potato and I put that into like a large bucket. And at the time, I wasn't as interested in gardening, but I took that potato and I saw that potato growing. And just from that experience, that first little potato that I saw growing, I really started to bite me. And then I started to grow garlic, because I love garlic and it's so good for you. There's so many health benefits to garlic. So I started to grow little garlic plants. And then after a while, I started moving from that to tomatoes. So tomatoes, potatoes, garlic, those three things specifically are where I started. Also, I've been enjoying doing that for like the longest time, I think, as well, and also growing sweet potatoes. Now, when it does come to the soul-soothing side of that, you see, like, life is really quick at the moment. For most people, life goes by very, very fast. And there's no way to really slow that down other than actually enjoying something that you'll always have a difference. So what you want to do, if you want to actually enjoy your life a little bit more and make life seem like it's lasting a little bit longer, is if you're in the garden and if you're doing gardening, you're always taking care of something different. And it's something that you're not paying too much attention to persistently. It's the same reason why if you're watching a kettle boil, it takes like forever, compared to if you go and like put on a series or something for a moment, or just like a news, anything that you want to put on TV or whatever, or on your PC, and then you'll notice that the kettle's like boiled before you even know it. It's because of that type of mentality. So when you're doing gardening and when you're spending enough time in the garden, it just gives you that type of peace where a lot of the time, like, I'll be gardening by myself and just be alone out there in the garden. And then that gives me a lot of time to really appreciate nature. And I really enjoy seeing plants grow. It sounds so silly, but I really do. I love seeing the stages of plant growth as well, and also noticing the type of soil that I use, because I will experiment sometimes. And it's just one of the most healing things that you can find, is just to do some solid gardening. And I'm so grateful for that, because at the moment, there have been things, we've all got our story and we've all got some depression to some degree as well, specifically post what happened last year. I won't even mention what happened last year, but I want to forget about 2020 if we could, just completely. But so with a lot of the stresses that occurred from last year, gardening is definitely something that's given me a lot of so much energy as well, and also just a place to really do meditation to a degree. And then one of the people, Darren from Down Under Farm and Forge, he also does a bit of forging and stuff as well, makes knives and that type of thing. Darren from Shed Wars, and Darren saw that I was busy commenting on one of the gardening videos, one of the big Australian gardening channels, and he spotted me, and then he got in touch, and then we started to do the Shed Wars. And well, you invited me into Shed Wars as well. And then that's been an incredible experience because of the type of culture that's around that and the community that surrounds the homesteading and gardening community as well. So I really love that. I love the homesteading community, and the homesteading and prepping is so similar. There's a lot of similarities, and the communities are very similar when it does come to finding, you know, salt of the earth type people as well. And I always like gravitate towards that. I want to help people that want to think about, you know, the future as well and want to take some of that self-reliance upon themselves. So it's essentially, I'm blabbering on again, but homesteading is amazing. Yeah.
Someone in chat, Courtney's husband, I happened to catch in chat. He said, I expect his channel to grow quickly. He has lots of great knowledge. And yes, that's why I wanted to bring exposure to his channel, because some of these channels are kind of hidden and they deserve a lot more of eyes on that channel. You know, so that's why, if you guys notice, you guys, like I said, again, I've been bringing lots of new faces, some that you may not be unfamiliar with, but channels that you should definitely check out because they have a lot of great information and great skill sets. And CG, as I like to call him, or Citizen Guardian, is one of those folks. I probably missed a bunch of chat here. Anyways, I got a couple more questions I wanted to go over because you also have your knot tying video. And see, I've been practicing knot tying myself. And some people don't think knot tying is that important, but I think it's extremely important when it comes to, say, fishing or running a ridge line and stuff like that. Who taught you knot tying?
It definitely comes from our Scouts years. Scouts years, the basic principles of them as well, and also just from repetition as I've gotten older. The knot video that I've got up at the moment is a pretty decent knot video, but there's a lot more that I want to cover on that subject because there's so many good knots that are out there. Those were just the very quick and simple and straightforward knots that you can tie, that somebody can familiarize themselves with. And also what I recommended is that somebody tries to tie, that people try to tie and make the knot as well, to make the knot when they're at home, so to have like a bit of cordage with them so that they can repeat that process. Knots are definitely something that I want to go into even further. There's something that is, you know, should be spoken about a little bit more in the emergency preparation community. And I just want to try and cover that as well, because I come from a side of the survival aspect as well as the emergency preparation, as well as homesteading, like those three specifically. So yeah, knots are incredibly important, and they could save your life one day if you really know what you're doing with them. They could definitely help you when it does come to shelter building. They're amazing for that. Making your own nets in the wilderness, something that can be very useful. Just from having, if you have the capability to make your own rope from the roots of trees, if you know, sorry about the flashing there. I see that there's, let me try this quickly. That's not better though. I don't think that's better, is it? No.
No worries.
Sorry about that. But yeah, definitely something that I want to cover more in the future as well, and something that I want to revolve, like kind of circle for a while. At least like 3 or 4 videos I've got planned regarding knots.
No, I like I said, I pretty much watched every one of your videos because I got drawn in, man, and I was like skill after skill after skill, and I was like impressed. I said this gentleman is good content, and I was just like, man, this is awesome stuff. Someone asked, says Independent Marine said, GreyMan, he mentioned someone who made knives. Did you want to touch on that? The person you were talking about in Shed Wars that makes knives? Yeah,
you guys can check that out as well. He's been doing forging for quite some time. That's Darren. So his name is Darren, and that's Down Under Farm and Forge. He's actually our team captain. He's our team captain for the Southern Hemisphere in Shed Wars. So he's definitely somebody that I strongly recommend that people go check out. He does a lot of his forging and that type of thing too. And then if people aren't familiar with the Primitive Technology channel, that's also somebody. But first of all, I definitely recommend that you guys go check out Down Under Farm and Forge, just if you can make a note of that or something at some point. But then also, you must have stumbled across the Primitive Technology channel, right? You know, Are you familiar with that? That's also excellent. Like from being able to make, like in a survival situation, being able to make like an empire out of dirt, primitive technology. So I think it's really cool.
I get drawn into that sometimes, and I just watch them over and over again just because they take nothing and make it into like this gorgeous thing. It's just like, wow, it's so impressive.
Yeah, to just basically go from zero to being able to create like, you know, a home with heating, and he goes like extensive into it. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, Darren from Down Under Farm and Forge is a good friend of mine. he definitely does a lot of good content, and he's a great guy as well. Also down to earth, relatable, and got a good sense of humor too. So it's great to focus on channels like that.
No, awesome. And thanks, Harvey, for posting that for me. And Charlie, welcome to the chat, brother. I just happened to see you posting there because I see my name is highlighted. Yes, go ahead, Charlie. You can post the local knife maker. That's fine with me. Like I said, I'm pretty flexible when it comes to stuff. So if one of the mods see Charlie is going to post a link to another knife maker as well, he can let him share that. And Harvey Black, again, thank you for posting primitive technology there for me as well. What I was going to say, so we are a little bit past the half hour. We've been chit chatting. I think we're having a great chat here. So any of you guys that have a question for my guests, please put it in all caps, and I'll read them. I'll say your name and who they're from, and we'll go over those questions as well. And so if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and put them in chat now. And what I was curious about something, because South Africa and North Africa, I'm assuming is it you more in the desert region area, or because I don't know Africa as a whole. Most people think Africa, all they think is like tigers and the savannah and stuff like that.
Well, South Africa is the most southern, as the name says, like it's definitely the most southern point, but it's got a very rich history as well, and the country has got a lot of, so there's, as everybody is familiar with, our dark history. Everybody is familiar with that. It's something that we can never, I don't in any way pretend that didn't happen. It was a terrible atrocity. The way that the history of South Africa as well, and the human rights violations that occurred, something that I'm strongly against. But what happened was, it's a lot's changed in the country. A lot has changed specifically, and these days it's more the haves and the have-nots. Our unemployment rate is exceptionally high, and so is our crime rate. And do you mind if I take a minute to just speak about South Africa quickly before we get into some of the Q&A?
No, go ahead. You're my guest, man. Go ahead and say what you like to say, man.
Yeah, so our country is trying to tackle the corruption problem, because we have had an immense amount of corruption the last 2 decades, the last decade or two, but every country struggles with corruption to some degree within the higher sphere. It's definitely something that's everywhere. Our country has a lot of, we really do have a lot of hope. We've got a lot of potential for things to move forward. We are trying to tackle the unemployment problem as much as we possibly can. But the truth about it is that, the country has a lot of problems. We really do. But at the same time, we're trying to move past them. As I said, the crime rate is exceptionally high, higher than you can imagine. Our murder rate is higher than in some war zones throughout the world. That's the truth of it. It really is. Our murder rate is exceptionally high. There's a lot of things that we learn to be street smart from the time that we're very young. We're forced into a life where me as a father and as a husband, living in a country that has one of the highest violence rates towards women is something that is not a joke at all. Something that is very dangerous. But at the same time, I really try and speak up about my country, and I try and bring it up as much as I possibly can in positive ways. But there is a dark side to it that I really don't address very often, and that's the side where the crime rate. If there was any problem, and not just that, but we have rolling blackouts. We have quite often we'll go through load shedding times where we don't have, for 4 to 6 hours of the day, we don't have electricity. So we have to work around that, and that can be a little bit frustrating when you're working for an international company, the way that I am. So because there's so little jobs here that I've resourced my skill set to overseas companies, which is what a lot of people do. The country's in a little bit of a hard place, but I think that pressure makes diamonds. That cliche saying, it's really true. I'm sure that you're familiar with the fact that Elon Musk is South African. Elon Musk himself from Tesla is in SpaceX, and that is South African. So that's something that I'm like, yeah, go Elon. You know what I mean? Like, it's really something that I really appreciate. But it is it is challenging, and we're doing the best to move forward as a country as we can.
No, that makes sense. Is the terrain that you live in your area, is it more like what is like when you go out in the woods, or what I call woods? It may be different for you. Like, what is it like in your region that you go hiking in and stuff like that?
We have some diversity. It never snows down here. We never get snow, but it's more arid land. It's more bushveld type of land as well. We do have some forests, specifically along the coast. So we do have some forest regions. So you can do bushcrafting to a degree within that region and area. But for the most part, we also have vast amounts of land that are very arid and dry and very humid a lot of the time. It just depends on where you are, really. But for the most part, and also we don't have wildlife running around in any way. We have wildlife such as baboons or deer, that type of wildlife, but we don't really have a lot. The perception is that South Africa has the big cats all the time, and the rhinos and the elephants. We find those in the game reserves only, for the most part. There are some wild, like Meisner elephants, for example. There are some wild elephants left, but a lot of the time, almost all of our nature is found within our park reserves, our natural parks.
That's such a misconception. That's what I like. It's just, people, when they think Africa, they have this picture in their head, or something they've seen on TV, and it's such a misconception of what it really is.
Yeah.
Someone said that, wow, I said, where was it at? I think Harvey had said something about it. Where was he at? It said something about everybody in South Africa must be preppers. And I wanted to touch on that. Do you find a lot of people that have the same mindset in regards to prepping or survival in your area? Let's say, do you have a mag or a group of friends that have the same mindset?
No, not really. Quite honestly, it's still a very fringe topic, preparation in general. Our country, surprisingly, South Africa has preppers for another reason. A lot of the time, so for example, one of the cultural, the best way to put it, we've got different groups of people in South Africa, and they do the survival thing in a very different way. It's mandatory for a lot of the Xhosa people to do 3 to 4 months in the bush as part of their becoming a man. So they've got to basically be isolated a lot of the time and fend for themselves. They're thrown into the deep end of a survival situation where they have to survive for 4 months, between 1 to 4 months, completely out of their own. So that's something where they get, then that's a ritual between, becoming a man. And then also the Afrikaans, which is like the descendants of the Dutch. They have they've got something called voortrekkers, where they get that type of training as well, where they get more survival oriented. But as far as prepping goes, it's still the same. It's still the same type of topic where if you ask a person a question like what would they really do in like a survival situation or an emergency disaster scenario, it's not something that a lot of people think about. A lot of people here as well. We've got those problems that I was speaking about earlier, and those problems that I was speaking about earlier definitely keep people too busy to worry about prepping. To be quite honest, it's real life scenarios that we're dealing with here consistently. So the prepping community, those that do prepare, I kind of have a lot of admiration for fellow preppers as well, but there is an extreme aspect attached to the people that do prepare in our country, whereas I have a much more open-ended, global type view to a degree as well. I want to include everybody, and I think that community is important, and I think that regardless of the way that somebody looks, they can absolutely add a lot of value in a survival situation regarding community. I can't say specifically that there's a lot of people that are like-minded regarding the American prepping way of doing things, and that's kind of where I put myself because of my love for the United States as well. So that side of prepping, the US style prepping, is actually one that I follow more closely than a lot of people do locally.
Interesting. And a lot of folks were shocked. A lot of people said, I didn't know there was not much wild game there. Now you find out there's only preserves. Africa is so large and diverse. It's funny how TV colors the perspective. So yeah, a lot of and this is what's great about having folks like yourself on my channel, because it blows away what people think or have, their ideals of some of these areas in the country. Now, this is a question from one of my other mods. Her name is Momberry Homestead. She said, "Are the gangs still murdering the farmers in South Africa?"
No comment.
Okay, I understand. Because never mind. I'm just not even going to that. I can imagine what the situation could be.
I don't mean to be offensive in any way. I'm not being offensive. It's a very good question, and thank you for knowing about that. But it's not a topic that I'll go into.
I have family in Worcester, and I know they prep there, and they have a community who do the same over there. I'm not familiar with Worcester or Worcester. I don't know if they're talking to us or talking to someone else in chat. It's the southernmost country in Africa with 59 million people. It has an area. Those are statistics. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. And yes, Rip Curl, I agree with you. This is fascinating. And they say things like this will never happen. And, when it comes to corruption, like you had talked on earlier, if you look at the U.S., trust me, it's, everybody has this vision of the U.S. as well. There is so much corruption. It's all about money, power, and greed in our country. And unfortunately, it sucks. It's northeast of Cape Town. Okay, so that's what he's talking about. Worcester, Worcester is north of Cape Town.
In the Western Cape, yeah.
And could I get him? What? I don't understand a hoot owl. That doesn't make sense. Oh yeah. Okay, no. Okay, now it makes sense. Hoot owl. Yes, it probably could, and that's why we're not talking about that. GreyMan, have you ever seen a green mamba snake?
So yeah, I have actually. We've got a lot of different snake types as well. So many different snakes, and we have So the amount of snakes that we have in the wilderness is actually is quite alarming. But at the same time, because we've got one of our most infamous. The green mamba is actually a good example, and then also the boomslang. So we've got a lot of boomslang and puff adders, which have a cytotoxin. Obviously, the different cytotoxin, neurotoxin, hemotoxin. Cytotoxin from the puff adders is something that's really, all toxins are terrible, right? But like a puff adder specifically, that snake bites you, and if you don't get to medical very quickly. And it happens a lot. There's a lot of people that aren't able to get to medical fast enough, and it's really bad what happens with the snakes as well. I have an immense love for snakes, though. At the same time, it sounds strange, but I really, because it's part of nature, right? I don't ever believe in just killing a snake for an unwarranted reason. I think that if you can at all, you should absolutely try and. With using the utmost caution, is capture the snake and return it to a local snake park. If you can possibly do that, that's the best option as always. Because the thing is, if you really want to hone in on the survival mentality, you need to understand how much you need to protect nature around you. And that's one of the most important assets is, the mentality that you can just use and abuse nature and then you expect it to be there for you when you need it. If you go into nature, whenever you're going on a long hike or if you're going on a long camp, try and ease into nature and become part of it rather than work against it. So sorry to take it from snakes to that, but I think it's important just to care for animals the way that the best way that we can.
No, I understand that totally. Nature's being obliterated all the way around us, due to population, and that could be a whole nother, video or live stream that we could talk about. Cleon Princess asked me to ask you a question. She says, "Will you please ask what inspired him to start prepping?"
So the reason why I found it so important and the reason why I got into it, primarily was because of the factors in South Africa. If you want to know the real core reason behind it, one that I never touch on the channel at all, and I'll tell you, there's a political party, and this is going back to what was mentioned earlier slightly without going into the deep side of it. We have a specific political leader that has threatened mass violence, and that's looming over our heads persistently. So it won't be the first time that violence against the masses has been invoked, and I won't allow my family to be victims of circumstances. So that's the real reason. That's something that I've never really spoken about online, but that's one of the main real reasons behind it. And I think that you deserve that, GreyMan. I think that you deserve to know the truth, and I think that your viewers deserve to know the truth. I'm a husband and a father, and I can't allow, I can't, and to take it, I've always loved nature, and I've always loved scouts, and I've always loved the outdoors and mountain biking and motocross. I've always loved all of that. And it is a very easy step into preparation, but to do it in the way that you keep the elements of homesteading, of gardening as well, and then of self-reliance and survival. So my life is still, and a lot of people in this country, we're working on it though. But I don't want to be an alarmist. We're working on it as best as we possibly can. But at the moment, there is a specific political leader that is still in power. I won't say his name. You'll never see me say his name, hardly ever. Like, I really don't like saying his name. There's one person in power that is consistently threatening the lives of millions of people in our country, and that's the most that I'll say on that. So when it does come to prepping, that's why I was speaking about load shedding as well. Our power grid is very fragile. Our power grid could potentially go out. We could head into really deep load shedding at any point. We've had the threat looming of stage 8 load shedding, where we basically are only on for 2 hours of the day, our electricity, and other than that, we have nothing. So my circumstances forced me to become a prepper from about 10 to 11 years ago, as I was saying. But even before that, when I was in my teens, I'd buy, instead of buying a nice toothbrush, I'd buy 3 budget, very low cost toothbrushes, and then keep the heads of them and start building like a survival kit. And also, the first time I built a bug out bag was when I was in my teens, and I actually didn't call it a bug out bag or anything like that, but due to situations at home, I ran away from home, which is something that I don't advise. Always try and seek out other help, professional help, counselors or something like that if you possibly can. But I was in a very large predicament, and when I was in my youth, and I built a bug out bag without knowing it was, because I took my school books. I had a medium-sized bag. I took my school books out of that one Friday afternoon, threw them underneath my bed, took a couple of tins, toilet paper. I didn't forget the toilet paper, and got some clothes as well in a bag, and left from basically one side of the country to the other with my jacket on me that I had at that stage, and my bag and my mountain bike that I was using for school. So sorry about that flashing. The flashing is terrible. I think it's every single time I move my hand or something like that. But basically, yeah, so that's what I did when I was younger, and I stayed for a large amount of months away from home, and was forced into scenarios where I had to fend for myself and survive in the wilderness in South Africa. And I was lonely and scared, and at that age, and I didn't have any direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do, where I was going to go, but I knew that I didn't want to be at home anymore. And from that stage, journeyed through South Africa, and fortunately, I've always been charismatic, so I've always been able to make friends pretty quickly, and that helped me along the way as well. I made sure that I made right with all the people that were being able to assist me as well. I always was able to, for myself as well, I'd always pay rent. I'd always make sure that I am honorable to the people that did help me out. And when it comes to the people that chose to help me out, they come from all walks of life. And I was homeless at that stage completely, and I was just down and out. And kindness showed through from people. And that's why till today, I'll never, ever judge anybody based on any sort of factor that is in your, any sort of appearance factors as well, is because of how many people helped me during that hard time of my life, and the goodness and greatness that I've seen from all people. It's something that came up earlier, where people believe that, the perspective on America has been tainted to a degree. And I believe that it's the opposite of that. A lot of people still have hope in the United States. The United States is still a basically the top of the mountain when it does come to freedom. So, and also the whole world watches your movies all the time. They're like Americanization is something that is around all the time as well, and for good reason. America gives people hope because America is essentially, and it's a good analogy, I feel, that America is the eagle, and without the eagle hovering around, the snakes will come and eat up the meerkats. The snakes will come and eat up the rats. So if in that case, I'm the rats, and that's if I've got to be called that. But at the same time, yeah, America is a really big part of my life. That's why I have the flag behind me over there, and that's why I've always got the U.S. Patriot style like throughout my house. The kitchen that I have as well, my complete kitchen, completely covered in U.S. flags. I'm very patriotic for a country that I'm not a citizen of, so it's not really patriotism, but it's more just a love for the stars and stripes.
Truly appreciate it, man, and thank you so much for sharing that story about yourself. I truly appreciate that. A couple things popped up while you were talking, and I think Rip Curl said, this is truly a great and very real interview that everyone needs to hear, and agree, Rip. And that's why if anybody else is in this chat, we have about 40 to 45 people fluctuation in here, is share this on your guys' social media, share it on the stream, share it on your community tab, whatever, man. I think this is great information outside of some of the normal stuff that we discuss on some of our streams. Now, Deanna Walters had a question, and you don't have to answer this question because I know certain things are touchy over there, but she wanted me to ask you about, we're just going to say Gates and the vax in SA, or I think she meant South Africa with the woman. I don't know specifically what she's touching on. I know there's all kinds of stuff going on where they were doing testing on folks out there for whatever reasons they were decided to do that. I guess their foundation, I guess, has places in South Africa.
Yeah, it does. They're busy rolling out vaccines here at the moment, and it's definitely something that I'm a little bit cautious of because usually vaccines take about 3 to 5 years of human testing and trial before they can come out with a complete and safe vaccine. I'm not an anti-vaxxer or anything like that. That's not where I'm coming from. And I don't mind if other people are or whatever that somebody wants to believe regarding that. It's their life. But when it does come to South Africa, they're not being too strict about it currently, about the mandate of compulsory. Sorry, just some sounds outside. As I say, it's 4 o'clock in the morning in a country where the crime rate's exceptionally high, so I've got to be as alert as possible at all times. But yeah, so when it does come to that, our lockdown was pretty restrictive as well. Our lockdown, they barred people from having cigarettes, which is something that I'm not like a smoker myself in any way. Like really, it's more just the fact that smoking was restricted. So it's something where the country had a lot of restrictions. Alcohol was banned for a good amount of time. Travel was completely restricted. Travel was completely restricted. Just a lot of things in general. And now, fortunately, we're coming out of that. But I'm sure that with Easter weekend coming up, they're definitely going to, after the Easter weekend, they're probably going to go into more severe stages of lockdown because we do stages. We've got like from stage 1 to stage 5. And at the moment, we did go into some severe stages where like everywhere really looked like a ghost town, and it still has the same feeling, that looming feeling of everybody basically still being in their homes. A lot of the time you'll go out and you'll hardly see anybody on the roads. You'll see people occasionally, but not nearly like it was pre, that thing that happened. So it's interesting to see the way that's been turning out. So I don't know. Like the reason why I bring up the cigarette ban thing is because people who smoke cigarettes and people who drink often, if you take those things away from those people immediately and you just completely stop those people from having alcohol or cigarettes, and then you lock them up in the homes where there could potentially already be physical abuse and abuse in general, and then you're really causing it's causing a lot of friction and stuff. Fortunately, like my wife and I are absolute like best friends, and we never get into like real alterations or something. And if we ever do, my wife's always right. So there's that's another situation, and I really don't mind the fact of that either, really. But it's just not everybody is the way that my wife and I are, because my wife and I have spent many years together, where we work a lot of the time from our homes, and we spend so much time together that we're very comfortable in each other's presence. Not all relationships are like that, and not all marriages are at that level of comfort where you instantly take cigarettes and alcohol away from somebody that's borderline alcoholic and a bit aggressive, and you ending up with something that's turns to really ugly situations. And it's something that my grandfather, as I was mentioning earlier about my grandfather, he always raised me to be absolutely caring towards women and children. That's my one center moral code that'll never shift, is you leave women and children alone. Like they are absolutely to be protected in every single way. And as a man, it's your absolute, I don't mean to be like, as a man, not trying to do like the whole man woman thing, whatever about that. I'm just saying, like, if you are the male figure, or if you should always just try and be protective to your loved ones as much as possible. And that's why when I do find out about abuse and that type of thing, it's one thing that switches me directly from being like a very happy, charismatic person to somebody that can't tolerate that in any way. You should always treat people with respect and treat people the way that you want to be treated. So if you're in a relationship as well, just try and work on that friendship, work on that communication between the two of you as well. I know that we have been kind of sliding off of preparation to some degree, but I think that these topics as well are also as interesting when it does come to preparation, because of that stress and anxiety factor. Look, in most survival situations, people really have banded together, and that's evident throughout history. When times get really tough, people join together and a sense of community is built. But the biggest thing that people need to work on already is just having that mindset that when things do fall apart, that they don't crumble, that they understand already. And that's one of the most important parts of preparation, is realizing that things could go really badly. And that when they do, that it's not such a mind shift that all of a sudden, like, the normalcy bias, which is the belief that your subconscious protects your mind consistently from the potentiality for doom and destruction. So as soon as you hear about prepping or anything like that, that's the automatic reflex that you've got against preparation in general. And it's like that's one of the most important things. Just expect the worst all the time and hope for the best.
Agreed. With the question jumping back into Zane had asked, and I paused the chat there, I'm probably way behind. It said, are you finding more people turning to solar, since you mentioned you have rolling blackouts in the current grid situation?
Yeah, solar is something that we do implement as much as possible, but they're starting to be a little bit strange about the solar thing. They also try and tax it. I had something here that I wanted to bring up in the stream. Here it is. So I just wanted to bring this up in the stream as well. So these are portable solar banks, and they're very handy to have, and they're durable. I've dropped this so many different times and it still works perfectly. Obviously, I didn't ever mean to drop it. It's got a nice little lanyard as well, so I should have been more careful. But I mean, if it's between dropping this and dropping anything else. So basically what I'm saying is solar is something that we do invest in. And one of these is really good at charging your cell phone, and you can just leave it out. So I've got, 2 is 1, 1 is none. I've got 2 of these, and I really trust in them heavily. So solar is something that's very important. Also, not just that, but I've got a G6900, the watch that I choose. As once again, like when you do purchase any items, the Casio G6900 is a very reliable watch, and it's also solar. So over a long period of time, I only really need the sun to keep my watch intact. It's something that's very useful. And that's why I'm saying, like, all of the preparation items that I've built up, I've been building up these over a very long time with using like a small percentage of my salary, and then just keeping that aside all the time. And that's where I've been able to build up my preps as well, because it's something that if you don't have any preps currently, it's a very good idea to slowly just work towards that, but without instantly freaking out and then causing economical problems at home in your home life. So if you do just budget occasionally, if you can't, you don't need to buy all the things at once. Just make sure that you've got a good survival knife. I think that's one of the most important parts. Also wanted to bring up, slightly just get into navigation, but I know that's going a little bit into something that you didn't really bring up. So I won't talk about that just yet.
Someone also asked, what does he do for refrigeration when there's a rolling blackouts? Does it, like I said, if it's 3 or 4 days, how do you keep your food cold and I guess whatnot, like meats and stuff?
It's a good question. For those type of scenarios, that's where we only buy meats specifically for the next 2 to 3 days. We never really store and stock up a whole bunch of meat together. And tins, tin foods as well can be very useful. Tin foods in those scenarios. Now, if you wanted to refrigerate meat, I'm sure that you might be familiar with having meat underneath the soil and putting, you can actually refrigerate and keep meats relatively cold and let it last quite a bit longer if you do store it underneath the soil as well. But there's a little bit more of a procedure. It's not just directly putting meat under soil. There's actually a little bit of a procedure where you can make a fridge underneath soil as well.
Awesome. We're a little bit over. We're right over the hour. If you don't mind continuing, we can continue for a little bit more. I see there's a few more questions in chat. And as long as the chat, everybody's content with our live stream, I'll keep on going if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine until you'd like to close it up. I enjoy speaking to you, so it's a privilege. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Rip Curl, this is kind of more of a broader question. It kind of has to deal with a couple different topics. I don't know if you could condense it or whatnot, or however you want to answer it. He says, what does he have for protection, water, cleaning, food, and fire?
So if we can go through them one at a time. So if we can jump through those. So for protection, that's I'm very well protected. I have the capability to protect those people around me that I care for. That's never been something that I'm too concerned about. There's definitely, I have lots of different measures for protection, absolutely. And I also keep myself in very good shape. And I am part of the community protection groups as well. So it does come to, I do quite a bit of crime fighting, if you want to put it that way. But that type of thing where I do have to use force occasionally, but preferably I try not to use force unless it's really necessary. But I do have multiple ways of protecting my family, and it's very important to me, and it's absolutely the most important. Quite often when I am on, there's lots of different measurements as well. Like we keep our dogs, a lot of South Africans keep our dogs indoors during the night. We don't let our dogs go outside because people do poison dogs here. And if that does occur, then you basically have your front line, one of your front alert systems, which is what they're there for. Like I don't believe in sending your dog out as well to approach a home invader. I think that that's something that you should in every way take care of. I know that a lot of people might argue on that point, but myself specifically, I believe that they're there for an alert system, even though I've got a German Shepherd and I love German Shepherds. So I've got a German Shepherd as well, but she's part of our family. So I'd rather go out there myself and deal with it rather than send the dog out. So protection, very important question. Also being alert all the time. I'm never far from any of my devices that I have to protect myself and my family. They're always very close to me, and just always being aware, like going at nighttime, if there's a car that's riding past and it's very late at night and you're a little bit suspicious of something, going and just slowly sliding the curtain open, just a little bit so that you can see exactly what's happening, and paying attention all the time to what's happening around you, and also keeping lights on. Like what I'm doing right now, where I've got the light on inside, is something that I wouldn't usually do. Usually we have our lights off at nighttime because of the crime. So I usually, if it's like a room that's on next to the street, for example. So that's the protection one. And then what else? What was the next one after protection?
Well, I think we kind of went over it, Rip. Said water cleaning. I don't know if you meant, because I know we'd already discussed water filtration. I don't know if you meant some other forms of water cleaning, not 100% sure.
Yeah, if you missed that, when we spoke about it briefly in the beginning, that's not a problem at all. So water cleaning, definitely having the capability to boil water consistently and large amounts. So being able to boil water and also being able to gather salt from the sea as well. When you do boil the water and you have the salts, sometimes that's left behind, you can use that salt as well, just not too often. And that can be used for drying meats. And then so when it does come to that, so then you can obviously boil your water. Then I was speaking and mentioning about this Soya Mini water filtration system earlier, and also the regular life straws that everybody's familiar with. But I'll take my money on the Soya Mini, just personally. Not that life straws are, not that I'm anti life straw, but just that, yeah, the life straw does tend to clog up quite a bit quicker. than the soy mini does. And then for fire starting, just a basic same as preppers in the United States as well, same approach to that, and survivalists. I do know how to make a bow drill. A bow drill is one of the first things that we learned back in the day, so that's something that's important, but such a tedious task every single time. People say that they get used to doing the bow drill procedure. That's really the primitive survival type of method as well, but it takes really long. It really does take a long time, and I get calluses on my hand from doing it over time. So just using a lighter, a lighter is very efficient, surprisingly, and then having extra gas, and then also keeping a ferro rod with you. So ferro rods are very good. Ferro rod's amazing, actually. If you've got a nice bulky ferro rod, it can last for a really long time. And just having some tinder with you. So I like using compact cotton wool. So I'll always have like a little tub. I've got several of them around where I've got a tub of cotton wool, and then obviously the petroleum jelly and cotton wool, making little candles, just a little simple tricks of the trade like that. So fire starting is never really a problem. I know how important that is, and I have multiple ways of being able to start fires over a long period. Magnifying glass in the sun in the afternoon, in the mid-afternoon, you can use a magnifying glass, make a fire, and then keep that fire through the evening as much as you possibly can. So yeah, fire, I do, because what I basically had to do is I've had to think about on a daily basis. So what would I do if I was cut off completely from like all of the services that we currently have? How are you going to cover water? How are you going to cover food? How are you going to cover protection? How are you going to cover shelter? How are you going to cover entertainment? Something that people don't even like think about too much. This seems like a big thing, but this is it's a compact, I'm a family man as well. This is compact Monopoly. So it's Monopoly, but a very compact and slimmed down version, something that people don't bring up very often. I know it's not like your tax survival gear, and several like 2 or 3 packs of cards, things that can actually provide entertainment. You can always make your own chess sets as well. I love chess. I always have. I'm a big fan of chess. So you can make your own chessboard. You can make your own chess sets over a long enough period. If it is like a end of the world type scenario type thing, but you always just need to keep yourself entertained, because you need to keep the human spirit up. It's something very important. Is if you can keep the human spirit up, then you can have your group running at full capacity all the time.
And the last thing, because I'm trying to catch up on chat, it's he said food, but I want to kind of go a little bit beyond the food thing. Is like, do you have like how we have here? Let's say, I don't know,
MREs.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah, I have MREs. This is more of a freeze dried thing that we get. I don't know if my camera will focus on it with the lighting here, but MREs, yeah, actually.
So we do have MREs. MREs are very good. Yeah.
That focus on that there. There we go.
I do have MREs, but because of the equation, I'm not saying that MREs are bad. I know how good they are, but MREs are actually more short to medium term. Even if you do stock up an immense amount of MREs and you need to move from your current location to another, and you have like boxes and boxes and boxes of MREs, and how are you going to really take that to, if you were forced to bug out? Obviously, we do understand that the principle is that bugging out is never really the first thing to go to. It's really not. It's very rough out there for an extended period. But so when it comes to food, a lot of the time what I've done is I've got things that are as compact as possible, while so that they are transportable as well if need be, if it really comes down to that. And then also having food caches along the way of potential bug out locations. Having food caches out there is something that's invaluable.
Agreed. Monty, yes, he is a spectacular guest, and so is Charlie, and that's why I'm hoping to expose you guys to, like I had said earlier. It's just there's so much people that I'm reaching out to outside of some of the folks that you've just seen on a continuous basis, and hopefully that you guys enjoy this type of content that I'm bringing to you guys and having you meet some of these folks. Independent Marine asks, does he cure meat or can't? Does he cure meat and can?
Curing meat, it's definitely a yes. Canning is not something that I'm trying to become a little bit more familiar with. White Family Farm, who you had on the show as a guest the other day, great channel. I really love what they're doing. Courtney and her husband are amazing people, and I've really been enjoying what they're doing as well. And I plan to learn a lot more about canning. I'm not proficient in canning myself, but when it does come to curing meat, that's part of our cultural, part of our country's cultural kind of backing is a lot of curing meat and just understanding the preservation of meats as well, obviously from different types of curing.
Bushcraft family. He said Citizen Guardian did the same prepper challenge I challenged you on. He challenged me. What was it? The prepper challenge with a bunch of questions and stuff like that. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, no, that's a good challenge. That's something that really is quite interesting, just to see the way that different people have different perspectives on that. I enjoyed the challenge, by the way. Hey, by the way, Bushcraft family. And to all the guests that are here at the moment, I'm going to watch, I'll most likely watch the stream afterwards and catch up with, and see what everybody was saying. So to those people that, have been maybe talking to me directly and I haven't been able to really follow up with them, I'm really, really sorry. It's just very strange regarding the StreamYard, between StreamYard and the live chat, so I can't even read live commentary. I will check it out after the stream as well, but I really do appreciate anybody that's here and that's listening in and that's taken the time to actually listen to some of the things about South Africa and to follow GreyMan Prepping, because I really like what you're doing, GreyMan, and I think that there's a lot of people that could learn so much from the aspect that you have, and you're just on fire. You're everywhere, and your videos as well, the way that you're making your videos, it's really something that I think is incredible, and I just want to see you grow as big as possible, and I just want to see you continue with what you're doing, because you got a very realistic approach that I think a lot of people are looking for at the moment, and a very honest and down-to-earth angle that you have is something that is kind of missing at the moment. It's something that we need more of. So I really I'm so excited to see your channel is just going to consistently blow up. If you carry on doing what you're doing now, it's amazing. I wish that I could upload a little bit more to my channel. I do upload, maybe 3 to 4 videos per month at that ratio, but I do have a career that I'm very hard, that's very time consuming and energy draining as well, the work that I do. So I do plan on uploading more in the future. Also, I've got a lot of exciting things coming up. As I said, I love motorcycles, and I've got a nice plan coming up for an adventure motorcycle. I'm looking at a pretty good either BMW adventure motorcycle, BMW, Honda, Transalps, or Ratish. Pretty good out there. And also Suzuki, the V-Stroms are also pretty good. What I'm saying is that for my channel, what I'm going to be doing relatively soon is I've been saving for a long time. I've been riding this little 200cc bike around for quite some time now, and I've been doing my patrols on that as well. So it's been a little bit steep, and also it's just to get to town and back. But I've got a nice adventure bike that I've been saving for quite some time, and I'll have that within the next 2 to 3 months. And I plan on including that in the channel as well, and being able to get out there more specifically and show people different trails and show people different hiking vlogs, and do a lot more of the overnighter camper things, and just potentially providing people with a lot more of the South African-based skill sets that are developed in this country as well. So I really look forward to doing that. And as I say, I absolutely love motorcycles. Whenever a bike rides past, I get that feeling in my chest over here. And I always have loved motorcycles in general. So it's something that I do plan on doing.
First of all, I want to say thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. I really do. What I've been trying to do with the channel, honestly, is trying to build a community within a community, if that makes any sense, in that realm of things. And, I try to, everybody that's in the chats, when they leave comments, I try to, regardless of the size I'm getting, I'm trying to personalize and answer each question. And that's why I'm so free with my email and trying to get back to folks. No matter regards, if it's another creator and they only have 10 subscribers, I'm still willing to work with those folks. So it's just, I feel like there's just so much to be brought into the prepper community and get the message out. And that's my goal. And the only reason I really want to grow is hopefully the message gets out more and more and more. Because unfortunately, and if you probably have seen this, is unfortunately, there's certain channels out there that kind of take away from this community, unfortunately.
It's just, I don't think that their intentions, I hear exactly where you're coming from. I don't think their intentions is always that, because of their own, maybe type of upbringing or something, or the way that the world has affected a certain specific individual. Fortunately, there are people like city prepping out there, and there are fortunately people like urban prepping. Those guys, the way that they do their preparation as well, and also the way that you do it, the way that you have this realistic approach to it, more people need to see that. More people need to see people that are just pretty much, I'd walk past you, in the street, for example, and you'd have a light conversation, and prepping wouldn't even really be this first thing that came up. People that are capable of like just being, day-to-day like people, but at the same time introducing people into the preparation sphere, and to the more people that we do assist and the more people that do take to prepping, the much better it'll be for the general population and for those people specifically in the case of a disaster or emergency scenario. And if you look at the world right now, there's a lot of things that are unsteady. I say that lightly, but honestly, like the more prepared that you can be right now and the more skills that you can learn, because gear is one thing, gear is great, and I absolutely understand the value of that, but also to get out there and to learn, if you possibly can, to learn as much as you can about actual survival skills from people that do a lot of survival oriented stuff. Gear is an amazing thing. I know that the skills are and the knowledge is just as important, but gear will absolutely make it a lot easier if you actually really have a longer term scenario.
Ken B said the stream is top notch. Thank you, Ken. Really appreciate that. Hoot Owl said, would he ever move to the US if given an opportunity or a chance?
Kind of, for the most part, I kind of have the opportunity at the moment. As I said, I work for a very large international technology company. So I do work for that, but at the same time, it is a little bit challenging due to family with disabilities that wouldn't really be able to get into the US very easily. And I would never be able to live with myself if we left them behind in a country that has the problems that it currently does. So as much as I love the US and as much as I will always remember the US very fondly, and I may return at some point in my future, but for now, this is a fight that I have to do. This is a fight that is my fight to live, and I definitely will keep hoping for the country as much as I possibly can. I just wanted to say that if you're in the US right now, even though things seem gloomy and that type of thing, you're in one of the best countries and one of the best nations that this world has ever seen. And people can argue that as much as they like, and that's okay if they want to. But the US needs to remember why it is such an amazing nation. The US helps so much in Africa and so much throughout the world that people don't always just focus in on that and realize how much good the US is doing. It's so much easier for the news to sell these articles of, anti-Americanism and that type of thing as well. It's not the truth at all. If you speak to the general people around here, or if you speak to people internationally, because I have traveled internationally in an extensive way, you'll find out just how much people still love the US. It's not just my confirmation bias speaking, because I know that I do have a certain bias, but speaking about things in general, like people don't hate the US. People love the US and for what the US stands for at the moment. There's been so much up and down that has been happening. A lot of people, and myself included, I don't love the US for who is the leader or who is the, SCOTUS, like who's the current president of the US. That has no impact on the way that I view the United States of America. I view the United States of America as an amazing nation because of the people of that nation, not because of one specific man that is in charge at any specific point. It's not about that at all. It's about the fact that the US nation believes in freedom and believes in prosperity if you're willing to put in the work, as I mentioned previously. And those are traits that I can completely stand behind. And as a man of faith, I think that there's still a lot of faith in the US. And I think that is something that is absolutely powerful and shouldn't be overlooked. So not just from my words myself, but if you are living in the US right now, you should absolutely be proud of where you are and be speaking positive about the country, because God only knows that sometimes what people can do is they can end up bringing down a country just from everybody speaking consistently bad about a country and then expecting a country to do well. So speak proudly about your country. You should absolutely be proud to be from, and also regardless of where in the world you are, it's not just the US, but regardless of wherever you are, just be as proud as you can about that place that you're from, because that's all you have right then, right? So What is the use of being complaintive? And also, if you're very complaintive and you're not prepping, I see a big flaw in that. I see a big problem to people that are complaintive about scenarios that are occurring locally or globally, and then at the same time, not really doing anything pragmatically about that. Like, not being pragmatic about the situation is definitely a flawed mentality.
John 13.7, absolutely great guest. Harvey Black said, what advice do you have for prepping in America? I don't know if that's trying to see here.
Just to quickly answer that one, if you have the capability to purchase land, perhaps in the Ozarks, I know I'm not trying to direct everybody to the Ozarks, but if you have the capability to get out into the Ozarks or get out to any place that you can kind of be a little bit more safe in. But if you can't, and if you're in a city, for example, and you have no way of doing that, just make sure that you like try and build the community, your community directly around you, because in a bad situation, you're going to need to rely on other people. And if you try and build up good friendships and good communication with people now, you're already leaps and bounds ahead of most people. And also, even if you can't access all of the survival gear, for example, the survival gear, people have lived past, like people have really there have been people with no training, no gear whatsoever, who have survived insane situations. So for prepping in the US, just it's about the mentality and just do exactly like follow a lot of the channels and see what they're doing as well. And also try and get up as much literature as you can. The SAS survival guide, if you've got access to that, get yourself a SAS survival guide. It's insane when it comes to like what you should really know. There it is. That's exactly, yeah, one of the best books that I've ever read.
And I got this new book coming, and I'll share that with you behind the scenes now, because I'm going to show the folks here that I was turned on to it by Mark, one of my good, I consider a good friend now, Mark at Rolling Homestead. And I saw something that made me feel really nice. Thank you, Sheila. She said, we love Grey. We live Grey. Such a kind heart, wanting to share her knowledge. Has a great guest tonight. Thank you so much, Sheila. I truly appreciate that. Great job, Citizen Guardian from Wide Family Farms. Awesome show tonight. Very educational. Gives us a lot to think about, from Emily L. Survival Julia said, we are community. Exactly, Julia. You're right on the money. I can honor that. He's an honorable man. Great interview from Homestead Remembrance. Great to hear seriously from Wide. Gear will keep you alive. Survival Julia. Independent Marine says, great guy. Survival Julia, knowledge will help you stay alive. Harvey Black says, we are family. And the singing sense, the old song. I don't know if you're familiar with that song, We Are Family. Oh, man, I can't believe I just done that on YouTube. Try to sing.
No, you did it short enough that nobody even really noticed. Don't worry about it. I'm just
trying to catch up. I'm about 10 minutes behind now. Let me see here. Good grief, my phone is acting up. I had to retract my message. You can tell he is a good man because his family comes first. Agreed, Bonnie Bethel. I think he's heard Corey 10 Booms regarding Ozarks, but I wish I was there. No, I've even looked up property in the Ozarks, Milkmaid, because I'm curious. But I'm in the same situation. I have a lot of family. My father's here, and they can't go with me, so I'm kind of stuck here at the moment. But I do love Florida. Specifically, there's a lot of positive things about Florida. Plus, I love the political environment in Florida. Because it's for the people and freedoms Americans deserve. And hopefully that answers some of your guys' questions. Harvey Black, we were, Marbury said, at GreyMan, at Citizen Guardian, while we were complaining about losing our rights, we must remember there's people with no rights. We must defend our constitutional rights. Exactly, Marbury. Ken B says, Ozarks has always been its plan. Let me see. Zane says, applause. Thank you for sharing with us all. Where are we at? I have totally enjoyed this live stream, GreyMan Prepping, but I have to go. Bedtime. Well, good night, Charlie. I appreciate you being here, brother. Charlie's a great channel. The gentleman that I interviewed last week from Newfoundland. It was nice meeting him as well. GreyMan, I would sponsor Citizen Guardian if he could get his family out. Yeah. Oh, I see. Someone did catch it. Klingon purchase, but GreyMan singing premiere. You too, Harvey Blunt. Goes, have a good night. I think I've caught up. CG. So other than that, do you guys have any other folks? We've been on an hour and a half, and I'm thinking, what time is it here? If it's 10:30, it's probably 4:30 in the morning over where he is at. So I don't want to keep him too much longer. And we're going to talk in the back once we end the stream about me doing some stuff on his channel as well. So you might see me over there here down the road. Does anybody have any final questions before we wrap up the stream? While that's going on, do you have anything going on that you got coming up, Citizen?
Yeah, definitely the motorcycle is going to help me get out a lot. It's really going to help me to do a lot more of the videos that I've got planned. I've got a very long list of videos that I want to produce and videos that I'm definitely want to try and focus in on. Quite a lot of this stuff as well pertaining to South African survival, ways that you could potentially learn from some of the situations that are occurring here at the moment. That I could show the world the South African taste, the taste of South African survivalism in itself as well. And yeah, just wanted to thank you as well before we do close up. If they're, I'm not really sure how to really, I'd usually, even though myself, I'm not really a big drinker, I don't really drink much at all. Not that I don't mind maybe a couple of beers with a group of friends or something, that's something that I've never really been opposed to, but just in general, I don't touch hardcore alcohol, but I'd love to buy you a bottle of whiskey or something like that for having me on the show, something that's just a way of me saying thank you. But I'll work on something, don't you worry. I'll figure something out.
It's not necessary, but anything that I'm not going to stop you from doing anything that you like. No,
that's I just want to show appreciation because it's been a great experience. And once again, to the people that have been able to watch the stream, I really appreciate everything that you guys have said and your support too. And everything that I've been saying as well is everything that I will always say is what I will absolutely just be as open and honest with everybody as much as I possibly can. The only things that I won't be always open about are some of the situations that are occurring here locally. But I absolutely try to be as much as I can, always in good standing with the way that I feel and my general direction. I really have a very strong moral compass when it comes to that. I'll always be absolutely honest with everybody, and that's something that I can promise you guys. And just thank you for having these streams. And I think that the more people that get into prepping, the better that we'll be, as I said previously. But yeah, thank you so much, Grey. I really appreciate being on your stream. And thank you to everybody for the support as mentioned. And I love this community. And I also recommend that you guys go check out Shed Wars, even though I think Shed Wars has grown on me so much to the point that I strongly recommend that you guys go check out Homestead Oz. If you guys haven't checked out that channel, please just go and support them. They're an amazing couple as well, Lynn and Wayne. And then also Courtney and Courtney's husband from White Family Farm. I'll know Courtney's husband's name soon enough, so then I'll actually directly. But he has his YouTube channel name as Courtney's husband, which I found kind of cute. I really like that, actually. So yeah, when it does come down to it, just thank you to the homesteaders. And if I can give you guys a recommendation, I really suggest that you just learn more basic survival skills and learn to be more proficient gardeners. And the best way to do that, one of the best ways that you can learn is by going to watch Shed Wars videos. Type in hashtag Team Down Under. Well, type in hashtag Team Down Under and hashtag Team Southern Cross. And you'll see that a lot of the Shed Wars videos will come up and you can learn a lot more gardening skills. And also the repetition of gardening and also knowing what grows well in your local region. But that's my last little ramble for now. But yeah, thank you. Thank you, Grey.
No, not a problem. A lot of people are saying, GreyMan, you got to get this guy back on. Greetings from Scotland. Julia says, thank you. A lot of people are saying thank you for wonderful talk. Sheila said, agreed, we need another one for sure. Great chat tonight. So many great guests, but this guy is definitely top 3. You have a good heart, solid soul from Marbury, very compassionate. Bless you. Subbed as well. A lot of people said they're subbing, so that's a great thing. Thanks for the stream and chat. Stay safe. Bushcraft family says thanks, guys. So yeah, that being said, for some of you guys that are hanging in here, I'm thinking of doing something down the road, bringing some guests back on and maybe doing a panel. And what I mean by a panel is like a world panel. Like, let's say if I have someone from South Africa, someone from Canada, someone from, down south, in South America, someone from the UK, and maybe we can have like this, like kind of like a world discussion on prepping. I think that'd be really, really, really cool.
You're the right person to do that.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, you're absolutely the right person to be able to lead something like that. I've seen that, like some of the other YouTube channels and that type of thing, they do collabs, exactly as you're mentioning. And I think that if we had to do something like that, I absolutely believe that you are the absolute perfect person to be able to do that at the moment, just to bring people together from all the different corners of the earth. I think that could be very good in regards to prepping and be able to learn from each other. So yeah, I really wish you the best with that. And if you ever need assistance or need me to jump on anything like that, I'm more than happy to join in as well.
No, I truly, truly appreciate that. And yeah, everybody seems to like that idea. Everybody's saying, great idea, great idea. That would be amazing. Awesome idea. Oh, that would be incredibly cool. So yes, everybody is on the same page. And like I always tell you folks in chat, you the subscribers have more power than you guys know. If you're on a channel and you're watching a channel, let's say you're watching a prepper in Scotland, you're watching a prepper in the UK, or even some of the bigger channels, you guys have a voice. Let those guys know that hey, go check out GreyMan Prepping. I'd like for him to you to be on his show, because I have been reaching out to a lot of folks, and a lot of creators are helping me jump through the red tape, as they call it, meeting some of these people, because I think it's fun and entertaining for you guys to see some of these folks and new faces and whatnot. So, yeah. And you guys are always free to email me. I'm pretty good at emails, but way better than Sean over at North Shore. He doesn't know tech very much, but I try to look at my emails at least 3 to 4 times a week, unless I'm communicating with someone specifically, and then I'm constantly on it. But I do get notifications, and I try to get back to anybody that does email me at least within a 3 to 5 day period. Other than that, I think we've pretty much, yeah, Harvey Black, World Preppers Unite. I want to say thank you to you as well, Citizen Guardian, for joining me on the stream. It was very appreciative of you. I know it's extremely late there, so I appreciate you taking the time out of your evening, your sleep schedule, that being said, and helping me out and jumping on the channel. I want to say thank you to all the people that were here with us this evening, and everybody in chat. Thanks to the mods for all the help. You guys are awesome, and look forward. What is tomorrow? Tomorrow is Geared Up Wednesday. I got something going on. I also have to do my video that's probably late this evening for my members on the member giveaway. I got a lot of things coming up, so stay tuned to the channel. And other than that, I think we are going to wrap it up. You guys can enjoy the rest of your evening. This is GreyMan. I'm out, and God bless as always. Stay safe out there.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time.